Last month, I had a conversation with a triathlete that completely changed how they thought about performance gains. They were about to spend $300 on new running shoes, but what they needed was something entirely different. By the end of this video, you'll know why focusing on what you eat might be the best investment you can make. And if you're new here, then hey, I'm James, and I'm a registered sports and exercise nutritionist. I work with amateur and pro triathletes to help them train, race, and recover faster, and do all of this in a healthy, sustainable way. So let's be honest, we all love new gear. If I had money to, I'd probably splurge on all manner of gadgets and shoes. But realistically, we've only got a limited amount of time and money, so we want to get the thing that's going to give us the biggest bang for our buck. But here's where it gets interesting. Loads of triathletes that I speak to are ready to drop $300 on carbon shoes, knowing that it will make them faster. But those same triathletes are still skipping breakfast before morning training sessions, barely eating enough to cover their energy needs, and they're not hitting anywhere near the recommended protein amounts. This is a pattern I see all of the time. We're quick to chase those marginal gains through expensive gear, but we often overlook the foundations that could give us much bigger improvements. There's something incredibly appealing about quick fixes. You buy those carbon-plated shoes, you put them on, and boom! You're potentially 4% faster, just like that. It's immediate, it's tangible, and it feels bloody brilliant. And I get it. I totally understand why people go for these quick improvements. They're exciting, they're measurable, and they give us that instant gratification we're all somewhat addicted to in today's world. But here's what most triathletes don't think about. Those shoes only help during your runs. They don't do anything for your swimming or cycling, and they don't really help with your recovery. And they certainly don't help with your overall health and ability to train consistently. This is where nutrition comes in, and it's why those honest conversations with triathletes that I work with are so important. Because when I analyze a triathlete's diet, there are some common themes that I see. Training fasted most mornings because it was too early to eat, regularly skipping post-workout meals, not having a high carb meal before high intensity sessions, and not getting enough protein in to support recovery. These aren't just minor issues, they are fundamentally undermining every single training session. Think about it this way. To get better at triathlon, you need to create a training stimulus. That means completing quality sessions regularly and consistently. But here's the part that many triathletes miss. You can't create that stimulus if you're running on empty. It's like trying to drive a car without putting fuel in it. Sure, you might make it a few miles, but eventually you're going to break down. And that's exactly what happens to many triathletes. They're trying to train without the right fuel. But it goes beyond just performance. This is something I'm really passionate about because I've seen how poor nutrition can derail a triathlete's entire season. When you're not fueling properly, you're at higher risk of injuries and illness. You're more likely to burn out and not stick to your training sessions, and you're more likely to run into the consequences from RED-S, or relative energy deficiency in sport. These aren't just minor blips. They can stop you from training altogether. And no amount of carbon-plated shoes will help if you can't train consistently. So when I work with triathletes, I go through a stepwise approach to make sure that they're getting the basics right, because that will make the biggest difference. So an example of this would be, first, create a pre-training fueling strategy to ensure you're full of energy and don't get stomach upset when you train. 2, develop a post-workout recovery plan that means you never miss the vital recovery window. 3, adjust overall calorie and carbohydrate intake so that you're not underfueling. And honestly, the difference can be crazy. I talk about the difference that nutrition can make over the long term, but if you get this right, you can even have a dramatic change in your next training session. So you might get significant improvements in your energy levels during training, your recovery times can drop, and you can improve your sleep quality. And then this just compounds over time. You get the short and long-term benefits, and it makes an incredible difference over months to years. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy those carbon-plated shoes. They're great, and if you can afford them, then go for it. But if you're choosing between investing in your nutrition or buying new gear, the nutrition will almost always give you better returns over the long term. This is exactly why I created The Hub, my nutrition membership for triathletes. It's a place where you can learn how to fuel your training properly, get ongoing support, and be part of a community that understands the challenges that life throws at you. As part of The Hub, we have weekly coaching calls with me so that you get live feedback, access to the TriFuel Academy, which is my nutrition course with 4 hours of content, and you get to join a community of like-minded triathletes. This is designed for those who genuinely want to improve their performance and their health, and have professional support whenever they need it. If this sounds like something that you're interested in, you can find a link in the comments and description of this video. Now, the truth is that you don't have to choose between nutrition and good gear. Ideally, you want both. But if you're going to prioritize one of them, start with nutrition. It's the foundation that everything else builds upon. Because here's what I've learned after helping hundreds of triathletes. Those marginal gains from expensive gear only really matter when you've got the basics sorted. Get your nutrition right first, and then get those carbon-plated shoes, and they will feel like the absolute cherry on top.